Master Mark Carney is speaking. Let's listen.
For response and airlift operations in Canada and around the world, virtually every mission involves CFB Trenton. With a fleet of tactical and strategic transport aircraft, the capabilities here are diverse. From delivering supplies to the high Arctic, we were just talking about alert, to facilitating peacekeeping missions around the world with our allies. Every year, hundreds of Air, Army, and Naval cadets come here to learn, to train, and to test themselves, preparing to wear the uniform and carry forward the proud tradition of service you represent. You in Trenton take on immense responsibilities, knowing it will require extraordinary personal sacrifice to protect Canada's peace and security. And the calls on your dedication have only been growing. We're living in an increasingly dangerous and divided world. The international order, built after the Second World War and reshaped following the Cold War, is under pressure. Russia is emboldened. China is more assertive. The long-held view that Canada's geographic location will protect us is becoming archaic. Our Arctic waters are increasingly open, and there have been rapid advances in cyber, artificial intelligence, quantum, and advanced missile capabilities. Climate change is making our country more vulnerable. The Arctic's melting. Our wildfires and floods are more frequent and devastating. And these are all threats to which the Canadian Armed Forces responds. The Canadian Forces keep our people and communities safe through major disasters. I'll give examples. This summer, Canadian Forces have helped communities in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, soon Newfoundland, and Labrador, including already by safely evacuating over 6,000 Canadians. This week alone, Canadian Forces members, originally from CFB Trenton, airdropped life-saving humanitarian aid into Gaza. Canadian Armed Forces are standing guard in Latvia and continue to deploy around the world to stand with our allies in defense of peace and security. When a crisis breaks, or Canada's safety is threatened anywhere in the world, this base is the first to spring into action. And from CFB Trenton, fallen heroes have been repatriated to their families with honor, carried along the highway of heroes, draped in the maple leaf, to be etched in our memories. CFB Trenton is much more than an Air Force base. It's a community. And here, service isn't just lived by those in uniform, but also reflected in the strength, the support, and yes, the sacrifice of every military family. Their service is grounded in values, in a love for our country that makes those sacrifices possible, commitments that keep Canada strong. And in the minister's visit a few weeks ago and visits to come, in my remarks today, we're investing in that strength. Le nouveau gouvernement du Canada va réinvestir pour rebâtir et réarmer les forces armées canadiennes grâce à une stratégie reposant
This will be done through a strategy based on 4 pillars.
Nous allons investir dans ce qui est la base de la défense,
We will be investing
ce qui servent,
in the basis of defense, as well as in infrastructure and equipment that
Nous allons améliorer et moderniser nos capacités militaires avec
and modernize our military capacities with more aircraft, combat vehicles, drones, and detection systems.
De la marine canadienne.
And we will also be upgrading Canadian naval ships.
Nous allons renforcer l'industrie canadienne de la défense.
We will strengthen the Canadian defense industry.
Nous allons diversifier les partenariats
and lastly,
du Canada
we will diversify Canada's partnerships in defense.
Au cours de ces investissements se trouvent
Throughout these investments, and at the core of these investments, are the Canadian Armed Forces men and women.
Have always been proud of our armed forces and respect your unwavering dedication. But just as we have taken our security for granted for too long we have relied too heavily on that dedication of women and men who keep us secure. As the demands on our Canadian Armed Forces have increased, their resources and their salaries have not kept pace. And these are the men and women we trust to wear the maple leaf, the Canadian flag, and to risk their lives for it. Their pay, your pay, should reflect the weight of your responsibilities. In Halifax a few months ago, I shared our vision to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces in order to protect Canada's sovereignty, to bolster our industrial capacity and create new careers for our workers. And at that time, I committed that Canada's new government would raise the pay of all members of the Canadian Armed Forces. And today, with Minister McGuinty and with Deputy Millett, I'm proud to fulfill that commitment by announcing that all members of the Canadian Armed Forces will receive a pay raise. Specifically, there will be an 8% raise for colonels and above, a 13% raise for lieutenant colonels and below, and a 20% raise in starting pay for privates in the regular force. These increases will be retroactive to April 1st of this year. There'll be increases on top of base pay, putting more money in the pockets of everyone. We will also introduce a new military service pay benefit specifically tied to time in service so that paychecks honor years in uniform. We will also introduce additional supports in the coming months for members preparing for combat and high-risk training, so they are paid fairly in addition for those intense commitments. We will make posting allowances fairer, based on how many times members have had to uproot their lives, the lives of their families, to protect ours. And will give more support when those moves take them far from their families. And if the members of the forces are called to serve here at home in a flood, a wildfire, or another disaster, we'll recognize that service with increased pay as well. And finally, we will target extra support to the critical trades where we need the personnel the most, so we can keep the Canadian Armed Forces ready at all times. These increases in pay and incentives will help us to revitalize and transform recruitment and retention, to bolster force readiness, and to ensure that members in uniform have the confidence and certainty that they need. At Canadian Armed Forces bases like Trenton, service isn't an abstract ideal, it's a lived reality.
All right, you've been listening live to Prime Minister Mark Carney at CFB Trenton this afternoon. The big announcement is that Canada is boosting pay for military service members by as much as 20%, increasing more incentives and benefits along with bonuses to be rolled out over about the coming year. We know that this is the most significant pay raise in nearly 3 decades, and it comes as Canada works to meet NATO commitments when it comes to military spending. We'll keep listening to this announcement for you. And of course, if he takes questions, we'll take you back live to the Prime Minister